And like in all things, there's always theory and practice. First, before we do the actual installation, let's do, in fact we have to do a little bit of theory. Let's assume now this is your room. Guys, can you all see this nicely? This is your room, and you might have a door over there. Whichever way it opens, it doesn't really matter. But you need to do a layout, just like you're doing with tiles. And let's start by laying, for example, the floor in this top left-hand corner over here. That would be your first board. You then work out where your second board goes and your third one, and then you will have a little offcut at the bottom here. Now the reason I'm telling you all this is because this is the important part, this little offcut. Here is a whole board. This is what they look like, roughly 1.2 meters long. When you do an offcut at the end like this over here, that portion that you cut off may not be smaller than 200 millimeters. 200 millimeters is roughly this much, I would say. That's probably a little bit more, probably 200 millimeters is that much. This portion may never be smaller than 200 millimeters. Similarly, when you're going the other way, when you start laying the boards this way, across the room this way, when you get to this end here, you might have a small little sliver of an offcut. There also, you cannot have a tiny little offcut like this. It's got to be bigger than 50 millimeters. This has got to be more than 50 millimeters this way. Guys, have you got that? You can't have a piece smaller than 200 here and over there, nothing smaller than 50 millimeters. You have to work that out before you start laying the room. Otherwise, you'll get into a tight corner over here. The next important thing about this is also in theory, on the theory part, is that you have to leave a 10 to 15 millimeter gap all round. In other words, over here where you start, you'd have to leave a space between the first board and the wall of 15 millimeters. Now, you might say, why is that? Guys, this is a living, breathing product. This is why you have to leave that little gap here. In fact, nowhere in the whole installation must you attach the laminate board to the floor below or to the walls surrounding, because the substance, the board breathes. It breathes overnight in and during the day out again. So the floor kind of grows and shrinks, but it's in tiny little bits. Notice also that what I've drawn here is like a brick pattern. Can you see this? The next row would be over here like this, all the way down. So see, these joints on the short side have to be staggered like bricks. You cannot have them all line up like that, like a soldier course in brickwork. They have to overlap. That's a very important bit of information as well. It makes the whole floor so much stronger. In fact, it is essential that you overlap the boards like this. If you've forgotten any of the things I've told you so far, don't worry. Every insert has the whole instruction manual basically printed on it. So if you've forgotten, refer to this. It's in every box.